Today I'm going to be talking about the best scans to use if you're trading the TTM squeeze indicator. These are my favorite scans and I absolutely cannot imagine trading without them. Hello and welcome back. I know it's been a while, but I'm Dr. B with Ready, Set, Grow, and on this channel, my goal is to share tips to help you on your financial and trading journey. If you're new here, like and subscribe. Leave a comment below saying you subscribe. Also check the description for some valuable resources. I'm going to run a couple of scans to look for potential trades pre-market, but these are scans that I also use during market open to find trades. The first scan I'm looking at is yellow to cyan histogram scan. And what this scan does is looks for tickers that have a shift in momentum from yellow to cyan, which is a bullish indication. I just ran it on the daily time frame. I run this on all time frames and to find potential trades, but I just ran it on the daily time frame, and the ticker I'm most interested in is XOM. What I like about XOM is that it is in a 9-dot squeeze on the daily. It has fired long on multiple time frames. The histogram bars are all cyan, so that's bullish, and the EMAs are all stacked. Can quickly gather this information by using these watch list columns that I have moved here. When we look at the chart for XOM on the daily time frame, you can see that the yellow histogram bar has now moved to cyan, and that is of particular interest to me because that shows a shift in momentum to the buying side, that there are more buyers than there are sellers. So if this holds when the market opens, then I'm likely to get a call. However, we do know that things tend to change from pre-market to market open. So it's not guaranteed I'm going to get in. It's if these conditions hold, if the EMAs are still stacked, if the histogram holds this structure, if the TTM wave is still bullish, then I'm likely to take a position. So that's how I use my yellow to cyan histogram scan. It can be used on all time frames, and I like to use it pre-market and when the market opens. The next scan I like to use is the 5-dot squeeze pro scan. And what I'm looking for here, I'm looking for tickers that have at least a 5-dot squeeze, and I run this across all time frames. I look for it pre-market and I look for it when the market opens. I've already run this scan on the daily time frame, and it gives me an idea of what tickers have at least a 5-dot squeeze on the daily. And as you can see from my custom watch list columns, I can see how many dots it's in a squeeze. I can see if it fired. I also added custom histogram columns. That way I can check quickly what color the histogram is, if it's positive or if it's negative. Then I have the stacked EMA watchlist column script, and this lets me know very quickly whether the EMAs are stacked or not. I look for all of these to be in alignment for me to identify a trade. Looking at the scan results here, I immediately come to ABC. ABC has an 8-dot squeeze on the daily, has fired long on the larger time frames. The histograms are all cyan, so that's bullish, and the EMAs are all stacked positive. With all of this confluence and confirmation, I am likely to take a long position if these conditions are still met when the market opens. Looking at the daily chart for ABC, I'm looking at the histogram. The histograms are bullish. The EMAs are stacked just as they were in my watch list column. This is a squeeze and this is a squeeze pro. So it's also in a black dot squeeze on the squeeze pro. The TTM wave is pointed upward. These are all characteristics for me to take a long position if all of these hold. Having my custom watch list columns right beneath my scan results make it so easy to gather the information to help me determine what tickers I'm interested in. Another ticker that has everything in alignment is HSY. It has a 28-dot squeeze. The histogram bars are all cyan. The EMAs are all stacked positive. So that could be another potential trade. Another example of something that I would not trade because it doesn't meet all conditions would be AMAT. While it does have a 14-dot squeeze, it's squeezing on multiple time frames. That's good. But look at these histograms. I see one yellow histogram color, so that lets me know that they're not all in confluence. I also see that the weekly EMA is not stacked negative. I'm looking for everything to be in alignment. That means I'm looking to see that all the histograms are the same color or the same momentum, and all the EMAs are stacked in the same direction. I'm looking for confluence and confirmation across all time frames. It literally took me seconds to identify tickers that I'm interested in because of all the colors and what I'm looking for. The next thing I scan for when the market opens, I scan for stocks that have fired from at least a 3-dot squeeze, and I use that for the regular squeeze and the squeeze pro. So once the market opens, I am looking for those tickers that have just fired for possible trades. Now this scan, I can manipulate it so that it's looking for tickers that have fired from a 5-dot squeeze, but I find that 3 dots is more than enough to have a substantial move. But if you were using the scan and you wanted it to look for tickers that have fired from at least a 5-dot squeeze, then you would just change the script to reflect that. And how I use this is when the market opens, the tickers that have fired will come up in my custom squeeze watch list columns that I have added right beneath my scan results. And then I would do the same thing. I'm looking for confluence. Does everything align? And if it does, I take take a trade. So I started with the daily time frame, and the one thing that looks interesting already is XOM. XOM fired long on the daily time frame. The histograms are all aligned and the EMAs are all stacked. And once I see this, I go look at the chart for further confirmation, and then I take a trade on it. I would buy calls. I run the same scan on the Squeeze Pro. So at the top, I have a regular squeeze scan that scans for tickers that fire from at least a 3-dot squeeze on the regular squeeze. But I also use it for the Squeeze Pro, and I'm looking for tickers that have fired from at least a 3-dot squeeze on the Squeeze Pro. And the first thing I like is MCK. MCK fired long on the 2-hour and the 1-hour. It has a bullish histograms across time frames, and it has stacked EMAs across all time frames. So that would be another ticker I'd be interested in trading. While I use a number of scans, these are my favorite scans. These are the scans I start my day with every single day. I cannot imagine trading without using these scans and seeing this setup. Again, the first scan I used was the yellow to cyan histogram scan, where I'm looking for shifts and momentum. I also have that scan looking for shifts and momentum in the opposite direction, so I use that as well, looking for the first red bar or looking for the first dark blue bar. The next scan I used was a 5-dot squeeze scan, where I'm looking for stocks that are in at least a 5-dot squeeze and that have confluence across the time frames. Then I use the scans where I'm looking for tickers that have fired from at least a 3-dot squeeze, and I use that for the regular squeeze and the Squeeze Pro. The time frames I use for all of my trading are right here at the top. You can see I have the monthly, the weekly, the daily, 4-hour, 2-hour, and 1-hour, and I don't look at any of the smaller time frames because I don't find them to be very reliable. For more information on any of these scans, you can check out my website, www.optionsqueen.org. Here on the website are the custom scripts. The Squeeze Pro watch list column script is the one you see in the video that's right beneath my scans. The yellow to cyan histogram scan is right here. This is the one I use when I'm looking for a shift in momentum. This is the regular squeeze scan where I'm looking for squeezes that have fired from at least 3 dots. And here's the Squeeze Pro scan that I use when I'm looking for squeezes that have fired from at least a 3-dot Squeeze Pro squeeze. So I use this scan as well in the video. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.